Hello everybody, this is Sol with another video, and today I'm going to give my extended thoughts and reactions to the developer stream that had just ended not too long ago. It was hosted by Ian as a hostess, and he announced what are the kind of high-level changes and additions that are coming in the Tides of Vengeance patch, which is probably what, 8.1? Something like that. I guess I'll start with some of my thoughts right away that I don't know if this sort of reveal was intended to come out now or if it was intended to come out maybe a little bit later, maybe even as late as BlizzCon, although I seriously doubt that. This is only slightly nitpicky of me, but I feel like some of the slides that were thrown together were a little bit too hastily thrown together maybe, but I really don't think it would have been a good idea to announce this too late. If you recall, way back in the Legion days, they had announced the content for 7.1 all the way back, I think, during Gamescom. That was the stuff about the Karazhan revamp, the Trial of Valor raid, that stuff. So I think that's overall, maybe give or take a week, that this sort of announcement wasn't really intended to be given the way that it was, but it kind of was too. At least at the moment, I don't think that this announcement or that this patch itself is going to resolve very many of them. There are still going to be issues with the pacing of Warfronts. There are still concerns about island expeditions, the way that Azerite traits are, and as well as their progression. But there are a number of things to look forward to, and to be frank, I'm pretty excited about just about all of it. So I'm going to go point by point and talk about them. There's going to be mini events called Incursions, where entire zones will shut down because someone from the opposite faction is attacking. Oh no! Just like with Legion assaults, all of the world quest content is going to shut down in lieu of what's going on with this incursion. We don't know whether or not there's going to be incursions that will be happening simultaneously for the Horde or Alliance, if there's going to be any sort of overlap, or if it's just always going to be one faction doing the other. And we also don't know if the incursion is going to act different. If there is in fact going to be a single incursion, how will the Alliance react to an incursion versus the Horde? They may have different quests, and this could cause some really cool conflicts, especially in War Mode. Unfortunately, Ian didn't talk about how that's going to play out in War Mode. I think it would be really cool to see these kinds of clashes of players happen, and that'll happen semi-naturally. But I think it also would be cool to have some other mini PvP-ish events that also occur while you're in War Mode. New world quests are coming! Wow! Yeah, the slideshow identified 3 major characters that we're going to explore in this part of the story, namely Saurfang, Tyrande, and Vol'jin. Vol'jin was a little bit of a surprise. I think that's a name that was just kind of thrown in there to tease players and get them to be like, oh my god, it's Vol'jin. But I don't think we're going to see something crazy like Vol'jin rising from the dead or him being put into a cybernetic body. Then he'll be Vol'jin bot. I don't know. But I am quite interested in what's going to happen with Saurfang. Like, what are the adventures of Saurfang going to be if he happens to be let out? Or is someone going to break him out? Or is he going to become lightbound? I don't know. Tyrande's story may also be very interesting. I mean, she's just kind of been maybe just brooding this entire time, watching over Malfurion, seeing if he's okay, and there was no mention of him, so for all we know, he might be permanently crippled, or there might be some sort of quest line where, hey, Malfurion is constantly changing his body, maybe now he's gonna have a turtle shell on his back. Know what I mean? Heritage armor for the other races is on its way. The unlock method is going to be pretty simple. You just need to be max level with that certain race, and ta-da, you're going to get a quest line to unlock that heritage armor. They showed off what might be a final concept for the Dwarves, and I think it looks awesome. Ian teased that they're going to have both Dwarves and Blood Elves come out in this first round. I am quite excited about it. I really would love to see the different kinds of heritage armor for all the races. There's going to be a new Warfront that is not what we thought it was. It's not going to be Barons. It's not going to be Ashara. It's not going to be that third place that I had talked about last week. Instead, it's going to be Darkshore, which, I'm not totally sure how I feel about that, but I do get the vested interest in wanting to retake that particular region for the Alliance. I do wonder if that Bronze Dragon NPC is going to have different, even more states of zones that you'll be able to toggle through. It's like, okay, cool, this is pre-attack, this is post-attack, just after the burning of Teldrassil, and then there's the present, and then what's going to happen after that? If anything, I'll be relieved to see the burning of Teldrassil finally end. I mean, a tree can only burn for so long. Another Warfront is something that I'm very much looking forward to, although it would have been nice if this came out simultaneously with the Battle for Stromgarde, so that way there are fewer gaps between Warfronts, and players can continue goofing around and fighting each other. Ian talked about island adventures for a good couple of minutes, although it kind of just sailed over my head. I'm not too keen on them. I mean, they're fun to do, but they are, repetitive and a bit grindy, and the changes that Ian talked about with regards to having some more dynamic spawns, more choices, more variety, and at the same time try to not overwhelm players with too many things to do at once, those are all small improvements, but I would like to see just a different approach to islands themselves. I mean, what if islands had no timer to them, or it wasn't exactly a race to get Azurites? Like, let's pretend like maybe 1 week there's 1 week or every couple days there's a different island that you just explore. There's no timer. You just go in there. There might be some sort of small objective there, but the idea is to just go there, get stuff, and leave. Think of it like Timeless Isle, but there's just more variety. So the thing that has me the most excited are, of course, the 2 new raids that are coming out. One of them is going to be a very, very unique one called the Siege of Zuldazar. It's meant to be a dual perspective raid where the Horde are going to be fighting 6 bosses, and the Alliance maybe are fighting 6 different bosses. The Alliance are attacking the city, and effectively they're going to be fighting their way up and battle with King Rastakhan. Meanwhile, the Horde are playing defense, and technically they're starting, I suppose, right after the fight with Rastakhan ends. They're going to be fighting through and pushing the Alliance back all the way up to where they're fighting Jaina Proudmoore as she's trying to get away. So obviously this is going to be a very separate experience, but here's kind of the cool thing. Once those 6 encounters are over, you'll be able to jump temporarily into the other faction's shoes, and you'll be able to fight 3 additional bosses that the other faction fought. So it's kind of weird because at least I would speculate that, especially with the last boss, King Rastakhan and Jaina Proudmoore, it wouldn't surprise me at all if mechanically those fights are the exact same thing. This is more for balance than anything, because it really wouldn't be fair if one faction had a demonstrably easier raid than another, for whatever reason. If you think about it, if Alliance players are in fact going to fight King Rastakhan like right on top of the throne, that certain platform and the way that it's configured, it seems kind of like shaped as if it were the deck of a ship. So that tells me the Horde might be fighting Jaina Proudmoore on a boat. And if that's the case, cool. So that tells me that even though the story and the overall experience is going to be the same, the actual encounters, once you put everything together, you're still going to end up fighting pretty much the same bosses with different skins. So even though there's going to be effectively 18 raid bosses, only 9 of them are going to be actual unique encounters. There's going to be a second raid called the Crucible of Storms that's going to focus on Ashara and the Old Gods. Although this is only a 2-boss encounter, and this is something that we're not going to deal with until it's supposedly well after the Siege of Zuldazar, so that there wasn't really much to say about it. Oh yeah, and really quick for Hero, there's the Nomergon pet battle dungeon, because, pet battles are neat, right? So those were the most major announcements, and there were a couple of things that were addressed based on some of the player feedback as well as the AMA from last week. Anyway, small improvements and other things that were addressed. One of them was the Champions of Azeroth reputation, and how that's unlocked the ability to raise the item level of your neck by a certain amount. That's going to be shared across your entire account. All you have to do is get your character to max level, and they'll be able to immediately access those quests as long as at least one character is at revered reputation. Supposedly, the Azerite traits that we're seeing right now are considered the tier 1, and as we mostly know with regards to early tier in other expansions, they tend to be pretty lackluster and boring. So with any luck, these new traits are going to be the new traits that we're going to see in this raid are going to be a lot more exciting, and we'll just have to wait and see. Other reputation improvements are on their way as well, including the meta achievement where you need to get a certain number of reputations. That's going to be counted across your entire account. I actually didn't know that it wasn't, but apparently it will be after this patch. Also, other reputation transmog items such as tabards, they're going to be loosened so that anyone can just wear them as soon as you're able to get exalted with at least one of the factions. Finally, with regards to the allied races, the Kul Tiras and the Zandalari Trolls, we still don't know when they're going to be unlocked. All we know is that obviously they're going to be coming after this raid, and narrative-wise, I'm kind of iffy as to whether or not later is going to be a good time for these two races to be accessible by players. I get that when it comes to the story, that the Siege of Zuldazar is going to be that defining moment that that tells the Horde, yes, the Zandalari Empire does need to join the Horde for its own survival. For Kul Tiras, though, I'm a little bit less convinced, and this is coming from someone who isn't on top of their story, but it looks like when it comes to Kul Tiras, they're pretty much, you know, on the up and up. They're ready to roll, so I don't know. The narrative tells me that it's time for the people of Kul Tiras to become playable. Zandalari Trolls, not so much. They're still in a pretty iffy spot. And the final thing to mention is that all this stuff is coming onto the PTR, hopefully by the end of this week. So it's time for me to stop relaxing. Busy season is coming, and with that, all sorts of PTR coverage. So you'll be able to tune in right here as I cover the things that, well, that matter the most. Overall, I think this live stream pretty much executed on what needed to be said. Obviously, not everything could be addressed, such as the nuances with class balance and some of those more detailed changes, and that's just going to have to come hopefully with some sort of class AMA. I know that that was mentioned last week. Fortunately, this is not everything that's going to be in this patch. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more, some other improvements and changes. The final thing though, so when's the patch gonna come? When's this raid gonna come out? Personally, it wouldn't surprise me if this thing came out mid to late next month, so towards the end of October. But with it being so close to BlizzCon, it wouldn't surprise me either if they wanted to push things a little bit further back, past that. If it does happen to come in less than 4 weeks though, then you can definitely count on the raid still not being available until after BlizzCon, because after all, who's going to do that? You don't want to launch a raid and then have everyone take time off or otherwise travel out for BlizzCon. So folks at home and on the toilet and elsewhere, what did you think of this? Does this sate or whet your appetite for more WoW? Is it too late, and have you been typing up a really negative and snarky comment, but somehow you wanted to listen to this whole thing before you hit the send button? Let me know in a comment below. As always, I love hearing from you, and that's pretty much going to be it for me. But if you enjoyed yourself, please hit that like button somewhere over there, and subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. Stay tuned for the PTR coverage as it comes in, and well, I'll see you later. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.